Hagelslag. That's really how it all started. One night, I was craving something. And somehow, all I could think of was one thing. Hagelslag. I thought of the time I must have last had it, perhaps 5 months ago or so. Being in Turkey, hagelslag sadly wasn't the first thing you'd find in your nearest convenience store. I moved across continents 5 times by the age of 10. I was actually born in Turkey, however, I spent the majority of my childhood in the Netherlands for my dad's work. As you might expect, stability wasn't really a factor in my life, so I wasn't really all that surprised when, in 2014, I found myself on a plane, apparently moving back to Turkey. Before I started middle school, however, I knew there were some things I had to do. So, like a very reasonable 10-year-old, I bought test books from the 4th grade to prepare for the 5th. I went to a private school, a school for the gifted in the Netherlands twice a week. But I knew that this would not account to anything if I could not perfectly pronounce the names of the human bones and bodies in Turkish. But luckily for me, I got accepted to a private international school, but with a great scholarship. Because yes, to have great education at the age of 10, you did have to pay. My mom had started working as soon as we got there, so I'd spend the majority of my days with my grandparents. Having 3 months of summer holidays ahead of me, I really wanted to utilize my time even further. So I came up with a brilliant idea. I grabbed a notebook and I started vigorously writing. My grandpa would come by and ask me what I was doing, and I'd simply tell him, "Oh, you'll see, this is gonna revolutionize the community." 1 week later, they'd find an invitation on their doorsteps. "The ultimate Dutch class for seniors, sign up now." I spent a week designing a full language course curriculum so the elderly in our apartment building could learn Dutch. I imagine my grandparents did not really want to disappoint me, so they did attend 1 lesson, thank God. However, that 1 lesson created an invaluable memory for us. Every morning after that lesson, my grandmother would greet me with "Goedemorgen," and at that time, it was really all I needed. To this day, whenever I have a hard time really understanding a concept, I try to imagine how the 10-year-old me would have explained this to her grandparents. What sticks to our minds the most is always the clearest input. Therefore, the best way to state something is always the shortest way. Also, please don't mind the irony here because I still have about 10 minutes to go. Okay, so the first day of school came. After those 3 long months, I got my hair glued back, new backpack on, I was fresh to go. Well, my first year back in Turkey was rough. I didn't make that many friends, I got bullied for the way I spoke, and I didn't have time to do anything besides studying. But there was one thing I did that year that truly shaped my life. I joined a musical. As if I had the time and energy to. But I have to give my lovely mother some credit for it. She knew that I was really interested in English and music as a child and didn't really want me to miss the opportunity. Accepting to join that musical was the first spontaneous yes I've given. Well, did it change much for me? Yes. That moment was the first time I felt truly empowered. Not empowered by the sort that someone just compliments your shoes and you say, "Oh, thanks, I look good." This was the first time I felt self-sustained confidence. This is really a special thing to experience as a 10-year-old, and really seeing how positive consequences could actually exist was truly amazing to me. 2014 was the year I started my journey. Accepting a life of change is the first step to take. And there is no next step. As long as you wait for the next step to come flying by or be delivered on a platter, you will never even notice the many steps you can take. Therefore, step out. The toxic attachment to our comfort zone is the only thing causing regrets. Studies show that more than 90% of adults have deep regrets about their own lives. What's even sadder than this is the fact that the more they dwell on it, the worse their quality of life becomes. Well, it's always quite a scary feeling to me when someone tells me, oh, enjoy the time you have now, you'll never get it back. Because yes, this is probably the time in my life where my peers and I can ruthlessly make decisions, but reality always comes back. There are always consequences. Courage and time are the only things you need to write your own story. My life in Turkey went on, till one evening that would change it all. I'm sorry, Esin, there's really nothing you can do about it. That was the last thing my teacher in Turkey said to me. After 7 years of going to the best private schools, studying hours of hours, and attending so many projects, it would all come down to this. I couldn't go abroad with my Turkish degree. I was devastated. I was destroyed by the pure fact that all of my hardships and hard work would end up with me not reaching my desired freedom, the greatest freedom of all, freedom of choice. After that talk, I just closed my computer and thought for a second. There was really only one solution that came to mind, but it wasn't that easy. But I knew that I would rather change my life than know I had lost a choice. I want to recognize my privilege here. I am privileged to have choices. I am privileged to have an audience, share my opinions. Around 72 million children around the world do not have what I have. Around 72 million children around the world remain unschooled. Awareness of our own privilege marks the start against it. I hereby encourage you to look around you more. Instead of hiding in the comfort of your privilege, share it. I walked up to my mom's room. The strongest woman I know. The woman who battled with cancer when everyone was scared to look her in the eyes. Even though she had beaten cancer and was stronger than ever mentally now, this decision would still come with pain. I told her what I decided, and she just looked at me, smiled, and said, "I'll always be by your side." So I moved back to the Netherlands. I went back to a place I had left that many years ago. In Roermond, nothing really changes, so adapting to my physical surroundings wasn't really that difficult. However, mentally, I had stuff to sort through. I didn't have my mom physically with me to hug whenever things got rough. Or I didn't have my grandpa to tell me funny stories about the time he got robbed as a taxi driver. At times, I felt alone. But I felt in control. Just like the 10-year-old me who spontaneously decided to join that musical, I'd spontaneously decided to jump on the plane and move back to a place I once called home. Things had changed. It was just me and my mom back in Turkey, but now I suddenly found myself in a household of 5. But this was my choice, and besides that, I didn't really feel attachment to physical places anymore. I didn't feel like I had somewhere to bind my whole existence to. Therefore, it happened, and I will always do it again. I found my comfort in things that were changing. Things that were changing with me. I found my comfort in youth. I found my comfort in you. I joined the European Youth Parliament via a random link that just popped up on my school's WhatsApp group. I didn't really know what the link was, but as you might guess, I do love doing things off the cuff, so I joined. Clicking that link would end up with me joining a 5-day-long national selection conference, a conference where I'd find my love for debating and meeting peers from all over Europe, discussing topics about the EU that I did not even know existed. And thank God, I got to join the organization, and after that, I joined many more conferences from countries all over Europe, like Latvia, Ireland, and Belarus. That one small decision to click on the link had once again changed my life. And this would also end up with me finding myself on the rainy streets of Rotterdam 1 year later. Another conference organized by the European Youth Parliament had just ended, and I was walking in the pouring rain with my friends who had just been strangers to me a few days ago. We were trying to find shelter, and all of the international participants had already left. The streets of Rotterdam felt even more empty and lifeless to me. So I slowed down and started to reminisce about my past. How was it that the small decisions I made on a whim would end up having the greatest consequences? How was it that the one impulsive yes was always the one changing my life? The only way you can discover yourself is if you discover the world around you. The most beautiful things in life don't come naturally, but whenever you reach out, you shall receive. You shall receive something, maybe not really the thing you wanted, but enough to make you strive forward. So that night, we strived forward in the rain. Because that night, I was craving something. And somehow, all I could think of was one thing. Thank you.